RAUSCH Games! Hello, guys. Welcome back to RAUSCH Games here on YouTube, and welcome to IWC, our wonderful independent wrestling community programming. And as you know, you guys and your suggestions brought us to this show exactly 1 week ago in our programming schedule. We brought you our first one. We operate a 5-match card on the same voting system that we operate our Superstars card on every week. You guys vote on the one match you want to see me play, and we go from there. Now, we have our 5 matches here set, and this was actually the best week of voting we have had yet. We had 6 individual votes cast. It was really good. It's better than the 2 last week. So we had Mark Briscoe versus AssailANT leading off the show. The tag team champions of the Indies, the Young Bucks, taking on F.I.S.T, represented by Chuck Taylor and Johnny Gargano. We had, that's a non-title match, by the way. We had Corey Graves taking on Jay Briscoe in a submission match. Adrian Neville versus created wrestler Supernova in a Falls Count Anywhere match. And we had IWC champion Cassius Ohno taking on Sweeney Antoine in a submission match, non-title. Now, after the voting came through, we had a tie between the Young Bucks and F.I.S.T, Adrian Neville and Supernova, and my almighty tiebreaker of unrelenting power comes into play, and I do indeed pick Adrian Neville taking on Supernova in a Falls Count Anywhere, because Supernova is one of the first created wrestlers I added to this roster when its creator wanted me to, and he's been asking where he is for quite a while. Now that we've got these things eligible for actual airtime in our universe mode, thank you to Mr. Respawn's idea a few weeks back, I'm going to give him some credit and show off his created wrestler as much as humanly possible. So before we get into the matches, moving this one to our main event, we do have an announcement. I mean, as Vince McMahon and the IWC are now collaborating once a week on your IWC card here and bringing it to you via WWE YouTube programming, while Vince McMahon, with his cojones, with his competitive spirit, with all that stuff that kind of characterizes who he is as a businessman, has decided to put together a mutually sponsored pay-per-view for the middle of June. You've heard me talk about it. You've seen me tweet about it. That is, if you follow me on Twitter at RauschGames/Twitter or on Reddit at reddit.com/RauschGames. I said RauschGames/Twitter, didn't I? Yeah, that's backwards. But they're putting together a King of Trios tournament, and there hasn't been too much information divulged about it. We knew that it was going to be a tournament of 6-man tag team matches, and that was pretty much it. Well, now we can give you a lot more information. There will be 28 teams in the finalized tournament. You will have 14 representing the combination of WWE and NXT fighting on behalf of Vince McMahon. You will have 14 representing the IWC fighting on behalf of their, frankly, completely unknown general manager / chairman / CEO. They will take part in a 5-round tournament. The first 2 rounds of this tournament will be fought during the first 2 weeks of the month of June. They will take up the first 2 matches on every bit of WWE and IWC programming until they are completed. Then rounds 3, 4, and the championship round, round number 5, will all comprise the King of Trios pay-per-view, which is going to take place on the 2nd week of June. For the record, we are finishing the 2nd week of May right now, so we've got just about 1 month of in-game programming before we get to the actual King of Trios pay-per-view event. So the winner will be named the King of Trios for the year. They will have commemorative belts that they will carry to the ring with them whenever they see fit. They will not be competitive belts, unless, of course, 2 teams decide to put them on the line. They have no real value in the universe mode. They are not going to be contended by either WWE or IWC rosters. Their victory is simply a pride thing for both the team itself and the company that team represents. So, that being said, all of our teams are finalized. We have 32 teams. That means we're 4 over. That means that 2 matches will take place on next week's IWC on these first 2 match slots, and they will be to determine who the last 2 seeds in the tournament are. And as it looks, we don't have our seeding in yet, but it's pretty well known at this point that they're going to take on the $1 Million Corporation and the Shield, respectively, in the first round of the tournament. So even the people that play their way into the tournament, much like your Liberty College in the NCAA bracket, they're not looking too good going against the Duke of the Shield here. But Either way, I'm going to go down real quick. This is going to be a bit of a long explanation. If you're not interested in King of Trios for some ungodly reason, you can just skip ahead this video a little bit. But before we simulate our first match, I'm just going to read off each trio. Some are going to be obvious. Some have been constructed just for this tournament. So here we go, guys. You're going to have The Shield, Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns. They are currently the WWE Champions. They're trying to make a lot of noise in this tournament. You will also have their #1 rivals here, the $1 Million Corporation. That active trio will be represented by Virgil, Andre the Giant, your World Heavyweight Champion of the WWE, and King Kong Bundy, and they will be managed by Ted DiBiase. It should be noted that he is not listed as a competitor for that trio. You're going to have the Tons of Funk +1. They are your tag team champions of NXT. That ranks them pretty highly amongst the WWE teams making their way into this tournament. They'll be represented by the champions themselves, Brodus Clay and Tensai, and their additional member is going to be none other than the Nature Boy Ric Flair, making his first appearance in WWE in any form since he was demoted from the Raw roster after last month's Extreme Rules pay-per-view. Your fourth team will be the three-man band. They are represented by Heath Slater, Jinder Mahal, and Drew McIntyre, and despite the fact that they haven't been functioning as the best team lately, they are throwing their hats into the ring for this King of Trios tournament. You'll have the NWO as your fifth team, represented by Big Papa Pump, Scott Steiner, Six, and Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig. They looked pretty good against DX the last time we saw them. They should go pretty far here. Your sixth team is going to be the Wyatt family from NXT, Bray Wyatt, Luke Harper, Eric Rowan. This will be their first time together as a three-piece. We're interested to see how that works out. Your seventh team from the WWE is going to be something called Team Canada. This is a viewer suggestion, and it just so happens that the talent themselves did like it. The active tag team of Edge and Christian is also going to add Chris Jericho to their ranks, and they may very well be managed by Caitlyn throughout this tournament, based on the fact that she and Edge are a very happy couple. Your eighth team from the WWE is going to be the Rhodes family +1. You've got Dusty and Cody, father and son, brand new tag team. They'll be joined by the Viper, Randy Orton. He is going to make up the third member of their trio. Your ninth team in this trios tournament is going to be DX +1. Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and the kind of unlikely addition of Mick Foley. That's going to round out DX for you in this King of Trios tournament 2K14. The Mega Powers come in at number 10. Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage are listed as a tag team in our universe mode this year. They have not yet competed together. They've both been more interested in chasing singles gold. But joining them to round out their trio is the man who's been main eventing SmackDown recently and destroying Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, Razor Ramon. That's going to be a fun one. Your 11th team here, you've got the Primetime Players +1. Darren Young, Titus O'Neil, looking to find any way to win, and this tournament may be their avenue, especially now that they're adding the high-flying Rey Mysterio to their trio. That should be a lot of fun to watch. Your 12th team, as much as I did not want them to be in this tournament, we needed another tag team, and we've got Cobro +1. You've got Santino Marella, Zack Ryder, and David Otunga coming from NXT together. I hope they lose in the first round, but Zack Ryder is chasing The Miz for his NXT championship right now. This could be a nice way to boost his push a little bit. Your 13th team, this is just going to be referred to as Team WWE. This is a completely random assortment of talent, and it's kind of eye-popping, guys. Sergeant Slaughter, the Beast Brock Lesnar, and the best in the world CM Punk on a trio. Yeah, let's wrap our heads around that one. Your 14th team, your last team from WWE, is going to be the randomly assembled Team NXT. And here you've got the RAUSCH, who, I know you're all thinking he put himself in this tournament, but I promise you it was a random selection. There's just enough people here that it worked out. You've got the RAUSCH, you've got Ravishing Rick Rude, and you've got Big John Studd, who's currently trying to understand the tremulous nature of human love. Those three together are going to be interesting to say the least. So that's your first half of the tournament bracket. Those are going to be your top seeds. And now heading to the bottom, we've got all of your IWC teams. We're going to lead off with the Young Bucks. They are the IWC Tag Team Champions. You've got Matt Jackson and Nick Jackson, and they will be joined by Jordan Watson, created superstar, coming from Dan Hand. He's pretty well represented this tournament, by the way. We'll get to that, though. You will have the Devastation Corporation, number 16. They are represented by Flex Rumble Crunch, Max Smashmaster, and Blaster McMassive, and they will be managed by the incomparable Sydney Bacabella. Your 17th team in the King of Trios 2K14 is the Swarm, Deviant, AssailANT, and Combatant. AssailANT here taking on Mark Briscoe. We'll see him in action. Your 18th team is the Colony Extreme Force, Orbit Adventure Ant, Arctic Rescue Ant, Missile Assault Ant. Your 19th team is going to be F.I.S.T, possibly referring to friends in similar tights. You've got Icarus, Johnny Gargano, and Chuck Taylor representing that trio. Your 20th trio is going to be the original Colony. Well, not the original, but the real Colony, not Extreme Force, not the Swarm. You've got Fire Ant, Green Ant, and Soldier Ant bringing it home for the good guys. Your 21st team is the Spectral Envoy, represented by Ultramantis Black, Frightmare, and Hollowicked. This announcer is strongly behind that team. Your 22nd trio is going to be too cool. You've got Rikishi, Grandmaster Sexay, and Scotty 2 Hottie from IWC. Your 23rd trio is entirely comprised of created superstars. FCW Sekigun, Lance Mercer, Golden Tiger, and Crimson Dragon will team up. And your 24th team is coming from the same creator. You've got the Evil Ways Syndicate, Adam Warlock, Jason Skinner, and Mr. Black. They'll represent that. Your 25th team is Team NLG, Troy, Respawn, Big Baby Bradley. They're going to team up together. Your 26th team, the New Age Outlaws +1. You've got the Road Dogg, you've got Billy Gunn, and you've got the K-pop enthusiast Alex Hayes finishing them out there. Let me see what Cray Fufu thinks about that. That was completely random, and I laughed my butt off when it came up. Your 27th team in this tournament of trios, you've got the Usos, you've got Jimmy, you've got Jay, and you've got their third member, the Iron Sheik. The 28th team in the King of Trios, you've got a little nod to Chikara past, well, not really, but just makes me happy to see this. You've got the Throwbacks +1, Dasher Hatfield, Mr. Touchdown, and the Wrestling Machine, Tim Donst. That's an interesting team. Number 29, you've got the Pieces of Hate +1. You've got Jigsaw, you've got the Shard, and you're going to round that one out with Darren Williams, also of Dan Hand's little stable. Your 30th team, you've got the Briscoes +1, Mark and Jay, as well as Sami Zayn. That's a fun one. You've got Team IWC at number 31. This one is all kinds of crazy. Carpenter Ant, the Great Metsuda, and Kurt Angle. What? And then for number 32, this is honestly, for the random third edition, I think this is my favorite one heading into this tournament, and it's a shame that they're in number 32 because I'm pretty sure they're going to have to fight their way into the first round. You've got Bullet Club +1. You've got Machine Gun Carl Anderson. You've got DOC or Luke Gallows, whatever you want to call him. And you're finishing that up with King of Diamonds. You've got the War King, Eddie Kingston, with Bullet Club. I mean, they're just going to murder people, and it's going to be hilarious to watch. So there we go. You've got 32 teams. They're going to be fighting for 28 spots. If it was going based on this seeding that I have in front of me right now, which it probably is, that means next week on IWC, you're going to see the Bullet Club take on the Pieces of Hate, and you're going to see Team IWC take on the Briscoe brothers. And then the winners of those will make up your last two seeds in the tournament. So, I mean, already we've got some stiff competition. That is set in stone as far as the team names go and all that fun stuff. We will get the seeding finalized, and you'll have a bracket posted to our Reddit the day after Over the Limit goes up for WWE at the end of this month. So beginning the month of June, you will have a bracket, and you'll get to see how all these guys kind of stack up against each other. Should be right in time for March Madness, too. It's like I planned it that way. What? Anyway, we've wasted a lot of time doing that. So moving into tonight, we're going to go to our first simulation here. We've got Mark... Oh, wow, the screen went dim. That's how much time we wasted. You've got Mark Briscoe taking on AssailANT. One-on-one match here. Not a whole lot of story behind it. Just fighting for card spot. And the simulation coming in. And that's going to go to Mark Briscoe. He continues to look impressive here in the IWC. AssailANT, not so much. But now we are actually going to bring you to a little video vignette after NXT went off the air this past week. General Manager Stephanie McMahon actually addressed the crowd for the first time in this universe mode, and she had something pretty important to say, so we'll be right back with that, guys. And here is General Manager Stephanie McMahon of NXT. Let's hear what she has to say, guys. Stephanie McMahon is the best general manager of any wrestling programming that I have ever experienced firsthand in my life. I would never say anything poor about her booking decisions or her managerial style, and I pity those that choose to take the coward's way of speaking about her behind her back in the future. That being said, let's never discuss what was just said in the ring again. I think we're all better off. And apologies if it suddenly becomes kind of loud with background noise. Just started pouring on our YouTube trailer here outside of the IWC community arena in the middle of America, USA. Yeah, sudden surprise winter rainstorm. Okay, though, we're moving into our second submission here. Our second simulation after Stephanie McMahon reminded us that she will not tolerate people downplaying her job as general manager of NXT. Seriously, she's the best, guys. Stop saying bad things about her. It's not professional. Our second match here, though, we are going to have the IWC Tag Team Champions of the World, Matt and Nick Jackson, the Young Bucks, taking on F.I.S.T, Chuck Taylor, and Johnny Gargano in a non-title matchup. Last week, F.I.S.T actually lost to, I believe, the Devastation Corporation in a number one contenders matchup, but F.I.S.T is still getting a match this week against the champions, just in a non-title format. So your simulation coming in on this. Oh, and it is going to be the Young Bucks with Nick Jackson getting the pin over Johnny Gargano. That's bad luck for F.I.S.T, but you kind of saw it coming. The Young Bucks have been pretty dominant so far. So we'll come right back for our third simulation, but we do want to get you to some more video that took place in and around the NXT universe this week. We've got a meeting to get you to now. See you in a bit, guys. And this was filmed on NXT this week, Backstage, guys. Paul Heyman, Jinder Mahal meeting. Let's listen in and try to avoid the thunder strikes in the background here. Alright, we are back here once again in the YouTube trailer outside of the IWC arena. We just saw Paul Heyman and Jinder Mahal meeting on NXT earlier this week. This is the first time that footage is being made public. It's kind of hard to tell what Jinder was discussing there with Paul Heyman. He said he felt uneasy about something. It appears as though he went to Paul Heyman for help with something that's going wrong, and he kept on saying that they may be angry, they may not like this, and Heyman had to reassure him that he was indeed making the right choice. Are we seeing Jinder Mahal break away from 3MB? Has it gotten that bad between Drew McIntyre and Heath Slater that Jinder actually has to walk out, that he needs Paul Heyman's help to go on his own? We don't really know for sure. I don't want to hypothesize too much before all the information comes out, but I do just want to remind you that the political structure in 3MB has been completely, in a state of upheaval since we started this universe mode, and Drew McIntyre has seized power in a hostile takeover, so I don't really know what to think there. But before we think too far ahead, we're going to move into our third simulation of the night here. We've got Corey Graves and Jay Briscoe in a submission match last week in our first IWC of the month. Corey Graves did win, but now their rivalry is going to escalate with a slightly more painful match. And we're just going to say it. I mean, I said it earlier when Mark beat AssailANT. The Briscoes are, you know, Young Bucks aside, probably the most successful tag team in the IWC in our universe mode so far. Jay's got a lot he can do on his side here, so we're going to go straight into the simulation, guys, coming in right now. But it is Corey Graves that wins in a submission match, so he's going to get it anyway. Now, our next match on the card is Adrian Neville versus Supernova, Falls Count Anywhere. That is being pushed back to our main event. So our next simulation is going to be the champion Cassius Ohno against Sweeney Antoine in a submission match. But we are going to have to come right back for that. We've got a little bit more from NXT this week coming up, guys. Be right back. And this video was taken during NXT's main event this past week, right after the match between Big John Studd and Mark Henry. We've got Studd cornering A Deceive backstage, but she's got a piece of paper in her hands. What is happening here, guys? Oh, and A Deceive has filed a restraining order against Big John Studd, who can't seem to understand boundaries here in the WWE universe. I repeat, he does not understand boundaries here in the WWE universe. And here we are once again in the YouTube trailer outside the IWC Community Arena in the middle of America. We're going to get our simulation on Kassius Ohno and Sweeney Antoine coming right up. We all know the story here. Kassius Ohno, your IWC champion, spent last month, feuding with Soldier Ant of the Colony and eventually beating him in a championship match. Heading into this month, it wasn't quite certain who his opponent would be, and last week he was scheduled for a main event match against Troy, who was recently placed on Team NLG in the upcoming King of Trios. Troy, however, we're not really sure what happened last week. Sweeney Antoine interfered, and Kassius Ohno was hit on the stage while Troy was waiting in the ring, but then all of a sudden Sweeney Antoine was in the ring when we came back from our camera cut, and Kassius Ohno was injured on the ramp and making his way down to the match, but was referred to as Troy the entire time. We feel like the entire IWC production crew just got a little confused, and I mean, that'll happen when you're running an independent promotion. That's why you're running an independent promotion and not part of the WWE. But either way, they're hoping for a much cleaner match this time, as it is indeed Kassius Ohno versus Sweeney Antoine, last week's aggressor. This is a non-title match, but it is submission, and your simulation coming in right now. And Sweeney Antoine gets a big win over the champion, avenging his loss last week. That's huge. This could mean bad things for Kassius Ohno's title reign heading into the end of this month. We're going to have to see what happens. Now, we are going to come right back for this week's IWC main event, Adrian Neville versus Supernova, Falls Count Anywhere. But we do have one more bit of video from NXT. It's going to get a little bit further into what's going on with 3MB right now, guys. We will be right back. And here we are backstage in the NXT arena. Drew McIntyre and Heath Slater exchanging words. These two not really close friends anymore. Oh, and wait a minute. Orbit Adventure Ant throwing Supernova down. Had to see that coming. And this is a Falls Count Anywhere match, but it has been rescheduled, and it is, as is fashion down here in the IWC, one of my subscribers doesn't get to see his call in action because the computer decides that this rivalry is more important. Last week on IWC, Adrian Neville got the win cleanly over Orbit Adventure Ant with the huge flying leg drop there. Unbelievable. Orbit Adventure Ant not happy about it. From up on the top rope, there's a gigantic flying elbow. And now Neville is getting up. Orbit Adventure down on one knee. And he's got him up into the reverse Russian leg sweep. That's his big finisher. We've got a pin from Orbit Adventure. 1, 2. Oh, Adrian Neville does kick out. That was almost the shortest match we've had in this universe mode so far. But Orbit Adventure is on fire here. He's not happy about last week, about losing. He was just added to the King of Trios tournament with his Colony Extreme Force brethren, and he does not want their reputation to be tarnished by his singles rivalry with Adrian Neville, which is only becoming a rivalry now this week. So apparently, by attacking Supernova, who was seen for maybe a half a second, I'm at least going to put into my thumbnail for this week's video, if at all possible, he entered himself in this match much in the same way that Sweeney Antoine dispatched of Troy last week. Big time step over Enziguri from Adrian Neville. Now we've got a collar and elbow in the center of the ring here. Orbit Adventure from behind into a pump handle. Down on his back. Nice slam there from Orbit Adventure Ant. But now Adrian Neville is up and fired up. And he's got a punch in. But now Orbit Adventure again going with that pump handle. Nice camera view of it. Down straight on his back. Ladies and gentlemen. Orbit runs at him. Huge running neck breaker. And now Orbit Adventure is going up top again. One more time, big time elbow drop right into the chest of Adrian Neville. And a step over leg drop as well into an elbow. And one more big elbow right across the chin of Adrian Neville. Now, even putting aside the remarkable attack of Orbit Adventure Ant heading into this matchup, taking out Supernova on the entrance ramp, very quickly, we did indeed see Paul Heyman attempt to meet with both Drew McIntyre and Heath Slater backstage during NXT this week. But unfortunately, Heath Slater did leave. He and Drew McIntyre were having heated words about Heath's role within 3MB. Drew just wants him to get out there and focus on beating up on the RAUSCH more often. Right now, Drew feels like he's better suited to lead the trio. But Paul Heyman goes back and speaks to Drew McIntyre, says that while they've been entered into the King of Trios, they're not really featured on any of the propaganda. Adrian Neville going for a weapon here. And he comes out with a ladder. What in God's name is he going to do with that? Oh, Orbit misses a punch and he eats ladder right to the face in this Falls Count Anywhere match. So Paul Heyman has officially offered his services toward 3MB. We can presume that's in a managerial role heading into King of Trios. That's a big deal. Paul Heyman is a very successful manager here in the WWE Universe, and to take care of 3MB on NXT, well, face into the ladder with Orbit Adventure Ant. That could really help them out here, ladies and gentlemen. And now Orbit with another neck breaker to Adrian Neville, and he picks him up, and Adrian Neville's groggy, and Orbit runs at him. There's one more reverse Russian leg sweep to the outside, and Orbit could go for the pin here, but he is simply not happy about last week's loss, and now he's setting up the ladder that Adrian Neville brought into the fray here. But now Adrian Neville's going to topple it as Orbit tries to climb it, and now Neville for the pin, but Orbit Adventure Ant does indeed kick out. And he goes into a front headlock here, and he's going to lock in one more pump handle, and he's got Adrian Neville down right next to that ladder, runs at him, big time clothesline from the Ant, and there's an elbow drop across the face of Adrian Neville. Crowd looking on in this main event. They expected to see a newcomer in Supernova. Orbit Adventure Ant did not give them the chance, but this is the way the Colony Extreme Force handles its business. Dirty, cheap tactics, ladies and gentlemen. Neville under the rope again, under the ring. And this time he's going to come out with a table. While his back turned, Orbit Adventure had the ladder set. He had the ladder set. And now he's got the ladder up on its legs. He's setting up Adrian Neville's table here. But Adrian Neville with a great jump up Frankensteiner. And there's a knee across the face the masked face of Orbit Adventure Ant. And Neville again for the pin. 1. Orbit Adventure Ant does kick out. Orbit Adventure Ant has hit 2 of his finishers already in this match. Neville probably not in the best shape, but there's a great Hurricane Rana from him, and Orbit Adventure Ant is stunned. And now Neville with the jumping, flipping, reverse DDT knocks the legs off of the table off 2 of its legs there. Sorry about the improper English. And now we've got another collar and elbow here on the outside. Adrian Neville comes out on top. Big knee lift to the face of Orbit Adventure Ant, and he punches him. And now he's got him down, and he's got him up. Huge sit-out powerbomb from Adrian Neville to Orbit Adventure Ant on the outside of the ring, the floor of the IWC arena. And now Adrian Neville is up. And from behind, there's that reverse Frankensteiner, and Orbit is laid out outside of the ring. Adrian for the pin. 1, 2, 3. Adrian Neville picks up his 2nd win in a row against Orbit Adventure Ant on IWC programming. Huge win for him, despite Orbit Adventure Ant coming out on fire and dispatching Supernova on the entrance ramp. It was Orbit Adventure Ant's match to lose, and he did just that. He lost. He got too greedy trying to set up a table and a ladder. Either way, Adrian Neville, another big win here. The fans are incredibly happy that one of their favorite high flyers dispatches his evil and cheaty opponent. That's going to do us for IWC here this week, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back for Raw next week to start off our 3rd week in May. We gave you your team announcements for the King of Trios earlier tonight. We'll also be posting those to Reddit sometime in the near future. Love them, read them, get on them, guys. King of Trios is real. It's happening. Next week, we'll have our first 2 qualifying matches. We're going to get there. It's going to be a lot of fun, guys. In the meantime, I'm signing off. If you like this video, please leave a big fat like on it. If you're new here, consider subscribing. Lots of good content. Until next time, guys. Bye-bye.